And we're with Marc Wasserman.
Joke because we're the pot brothers at law. People say, oh, it's the pot brothers. Well, there's lots of brothers who just smoke pot, but we're the only two that we know of that actually practice law as well. Plus, we have it trademarked and copyrighted, so we really want to use pot brothers at law.
Yeah, we definitely want to honor the brand and the outfits. Always awesome. Yeah. All right. So your legal practice focuses on cannabis. Can you give us a brief explanation of what you do in this like budding new sector of the law? What kind of clients do you work with?
So I have been practicing since 1996 as a criminal defense attorney. 1996 is when Prop 215 was enacted in California, giving cannabis patients certain rights. That enactment was being badly misused and abused, and cannabis patients were being arrested and thrown in jail when they shouldn't be. So I have been doing defense representing cannabis patients and cannabis users since 1996. As things evolved, and then there became the business of cannabis, which is now in some fashions legal to some extent, some degree. My big brother, who has been practicing 10 years more than me, handling business matters and civil litigation and mergers and acquisitions. Once business opened up for cannabis, those interested in doing a cannabis business for licensing, permitting, and all of that stuff, my brother took hold of all of those regulations. And so between the two of us, we handle everything related to cannabis, because unfortunately, even if you have a legal licensed business with the proper city permits and state licensing for cannabis, you should still get arrested. People still get arrested, and then we have to deal with it inside a court in the criminal realm. So I handle all the criminal activity portion of it. My brother handles all the civil business end of everything. And as you come into our office, if you want to get into a legal licensed business, my brother's room is to the left, my office is to the right, and you don't want to end up in my office because you're probably looking at felonies and some other bad news. So you always want to stay to the left and get in there and handle business properly and legitimately, as that's how it's moving forward.
Yeah, so right is not always where you want to be. Sometimes you want to go left. Okay. What's the most important thing that law students should be focused on when it comes to getting into this industry, do you think?
I would suggest just keeping up with all these new bills that are being introduced, a lot of which never go anywhere, and they lose steam and all that. But it's important to know who is pushing certain bills, because those are people that we want elected. Those are people that we want to be pushing for us if they're pushing the cannabis agenda. So watching those types of things and reading cases and case law that's now coming out when it comes to, criminal defense matters and licensing and permitting, looking at your local city council, your local board of supervisors, and what's going on with laws and regulations in the cannabis space in your city and town where you're at. Regardless of where you go to law school at, it's one thing to see what's going on in and around where I'm at law school. A lot of people go to law school and they go back to wherever they're from. And so it's important. And if you're going to be gone for 3 years, lots happen, lots change. So if that's your goal, to get into this industry back from wherever it is you came from, then you want to be watching what's going on in that jurisdiction, because, across California, there's 482 cities in the state, and barely a third of them offer licensed legal cannabis business opportunities. A lot of them just outright ban it. And so, those are things that need to change, and things that attorneys need to know about. And, if you're in law school, if you're 1L up to your third year or fourth year, if you're going that long, then you want to keep up with things as they're changing every year. And then you'll be up. You'll be one up on anybody else once you get out, because you won't have to be going backwards to go get caught up on the landscape, because it's just happening. It's all new. So in terms of the legal side of it and operating in that area.
Yeah, I think to your point, it is very new. I think one of the lures is that like people that step into the industry now are going to set like precedent for future generations of lawyers and policy and civil procedure. So, what would you recommend as a good source to keep up on things? I know like different states have different sources, but as far as California,
Probably the two best websites and organizations, there's Normal, NORML.org, National Organization Reform of Marijuana Laws, which has been around for 50 years. And they have a great like map that shows you all the states, who's allowing what, who's not, breakdown of all the laws. So that's a very good one, that in one central spot you can find pretty much everything you want to know about the laws all around the country, both federally and state to state. So that's a good one. And then another good one is Americans for Safe Access. That is a really good website too. One of the great things about both these websites, not only does it give you a wealth of information with regards to laws and regulation and what's going on, but it also gives you the tool to just click, 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 send. And now you're sending a letter to your representative saying, hey, we want cannabis legalized here. We want it legalized in my city, in my jurisdiction. And those types of letters, not only for cannabis, for anything, any cause, any issue, you can do that. But these particular websites focus on the need for safe access and for cannabis to be completely legal. So those are two resources that I rely heavily on as well.
as far as being a law student, what classes would you recommend law students focus on to be better lawyers in the industry?
Criminal defense, definitely, because there's overlap there, and a lot of our clients come from the traditional market. They're criminals, or society labels them criminals because they sold cannabis without a license, and then they want to cross over and come into the legal aspect. Now, I will say, doing criminal defense, 95% of my clients are not criminals, just doing things, bad situations, stupid decisions, or just not giving a shit about the laws and wanting to sell cannabis to patients who need it. And those people aren't criminals. Now I certainly represent, as I say, maybe 5% criminals that, part of their job is going to jail. They understand that. They understand, I'm doing this. Something happens, I'm going away. My attorney's going to try to make it so I don't go in so long. We try to mitigate that. And then you have guys like that who want to go clean and cross over into the legal industry. So, understanding those types of clients really helps, and understanding the laws and criminal defense and criminal procedures, and the fact that just because you use that word doesn't mean somebody's a criminal. So I think that's very important to study and learn as you're going through law school. I mean, it's very hard during law school to find things that have practical application. And so you kind of have to look outside of, law school. I watch the news, or you set Google alerts. That's one of the things I did early on when that became available. Cannabis crimes, cannabis policy, all, you just put in those buzzwords, and when something happens, oh, Oklahoma's going legal now, or something's happening somewhere in the country or the world with regards to cannabis, you're right on top of it. So that's very important to stay on top of as much as you can.
I've heard a lot.
happening somewhere in the country or the world with regards to cannabis, you're right on top of it. So that's very important to stay on top of as much as you can.
I've heard a lot that too, like there's very little crossover between law school like classes and then also practice, like what you just said. So I think externships and internships are really important. Do you all offer that?
Yes, absolutely. What you just said, I actually take it a little bit further. I say that college and the degree you got have nothing to do with taking that LSAT. LSAT has nothing to do with law school. Law school has nothing to do with taking the bar exam, and the bar exam has nothing to do with practicing law. So, it's all about trying to figure those things out in the middle and in between by, like you just said, taking intern and externships. We offer them complete. We've worked with many law schools for credit, so the students can get credit, whether they're doing it remote, coming into our office, and we're a very different and unique law firm. You're not going to get the big law firm experience if if that's something you want. Come to us. It's very family run. Me and my brother's daughter's our secretary. We have 2 attorneys in the office. One is our old law school professor who's now 90 and pretty much retired, but he comes in to hang out a couple hours a day. And then we have our only associate attorney who started as an intern 7 years ago. He moved from Tennessee just to be our intern and go to law school where we went. And he stuck to the plan that I offer every one of the interns I've ever had in 27 years, the same thing, which is you're going to get out of this what you put into it. If you're going to get units from school, we help facilitate that so you can maximize and get the most amount of units you can get. And then we offer our availability. If you want to show up at 8:30 in the morning at a courthouse I'm going to be at and watch me and watch and learn and get that practical experience that you ain't going to get in law school, and come in and sit on client consultations and meetings and basically shadow. And I say the same thing to every single one of our law interns I've said that to. If you do that and you stick with us, you'll swear in to be a lawyer, and the next day you'll be in court by yourself, perfectly fine. And of all the interns I've ever had, only one really, he did it. He was meeting me at court every day. He, was finishing college, then going to law school and doing everything in between, but figuring out the time to come in and do that. And now here we are 7 years later, and he's been a practicing attorney for going on 2 years now. And when he got his license and he was eligible to practice, the next day he was in court. I was happy I didn't have to go to court no more. And he's done hundreds of court appearances, felonies, misdemeanors, getting cases dismissed. I mean, so we offer, again, it's a unique opportunity, especially if you want to get into this side of the practice and learn about it. So when you do become an attorney after law school and the bar, you hit the ground running. Because most people, you go to college and then you're at law school and you're like starting all over again. Right. And then you got to take and pass the bar once, twice, who knows what that's going to look like for any one given person. And then you get a job at some firm and, you're making coffee for somebody, I mean, there's people who want to go that route and make the coffee and then move up and then work. And then you get a job at some firm and, you're making coffee for somebody, I mean, there's people who want to go that route and make the coffee and then move up and then work their way up a 10-year track to be partner and, all that stuff. That's fine too. We give you the opportunity to be on your own, to learn what it's like to work for yourself. Both me and my brother have our own separate practices, and we merged together because of what happened to us on social media, which we never expected. We just got on there to give out some free information and get a few clients. Blew up in our face, and then now we find ourselves working together
with merch.
well. Yes. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So I encourage that. I encourage, looking into those things, because as an attorney, if you work for a firm somewhere, you will quickly learn the hours you're putting in, the money you're getting paid may sound really nice, but you're making 10 times that for the people you're working for. And you could make that just as well. It's very, very true. You write your own meal ticket when you have your law degree and pass the bar. My brother had a funny saying along, it's a license to steal. I can write a letter and charge $550 an hour. That's what you do when you're an attorney, that's how it goes. So if you put yourself in that position, you're going to be much better off going forward once you're done. Instead of waiting for other opportunities, if you can do as much as you can, practical application during and through law school by, doing an internship and all that kind of stuff, it's going to be very advantageous.